The class name selector uses the syntax with the period in front of a name that you come up with. A class is nothing more than another name, much like a variable name, that is for a group of elements on your page. So if you have more than one thing and you want them all to look the same, so for example, I might have one branch of my hierarchy here. I might have a paragraph, a span, maybe a list inside, and I want them all to be the same font color. I would give them each the same class name, and then I could attach the CSS at the class. The ID name selector uses the ID attribute. I'm just going to quickly go through this slide, but then we're going to do this together. Descendant is what I was talking about here, where in this case you have a body that has a paragraph that has a span inside. The span is a descendant of the body. A direct child would be one level down, right? So this is a direct child. The P tag here is a direct child of the body. Those are two different things. So let's try these out in some code. Open up a new file, and I'm gonna add in the head and the body because I want to be able to put my styling inside of the head. So I'm gonna add it right now. Go ahead and in your head tag, put a style tag. Style open, style close. Okay. And then I'll have a body section, right? So we can experiment with some of these different types of selectors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write some code that gives us several tags to work with. So I'm going to start with a P tag. And inside of my P tag, I'm going to have another tag, a span, that opens and closes inside of that P tag, so it's a child of the P. I'm going to add a couple of headings for us to work with. Okay, and another P tag. And then finally, I'm going to add a div tag. So a div, D-I-V, it can be used to group tags together. So it's another tag, much like the section tag, where you can just group a bunch of things together. So I'm going to put an OL inside, and you know OLs have list items, so I'm going to add 3 list items here. Okay, so now we have several tags with several relationships that we can begin working with. All right, throw in a couple more. Looks good. Okay, and so what I see happening here, right, if I asked you to draw this hierarchy just like I drew it earlier, you would see that you have the body that is the parent. And I know that because all of these elements open it and close inside of the body, right? The key is the closing. Now I have an H1, and the H1 is the child of the body. This P is also a child of a body, a sibling of the H1. Inside of the P, I have another tag. This is a child of the P. It is considered a descendant of the body, not a direct child. That's important. There's a distinction between those two things. More children, another child. And then inside the div, we have a P that opens and closes. We have a span that opens and closes, right? So you have more and more relationships. Drill down, yes. This is a drawing of the hierarchy of the code we just wrote. So you have the body that is the parent to an H1, a P, an H1, a P, and a div. And so if you go back to the code we wrote, that is exactly, I put them here from left to right in the order in which they appear inside of the body tag. Now each of these close before the next one opens. That makes them all siblings of one another. The second P tag has a span inside of it that opens and closes around the word volcanoes. So the span is a child of the P tag. The div has a P tag and an OL. The OL has 3 LIs inside that open and close before the OL closes. So what you're seeing here, the relationships you're seeing, is you can say that the OL is a descendant of the body. It is not a direct child. On the other hand, the div here is a direct child of the body. So the same would hold true for the span. The span is a descendant of the body, whereas the p tag here, its parent is the direct child. So you'll see those relationships in the advanced selectors. Span is considered so you know how the p tag, you get like white space around it when you have a new open and close? A div does the same thing. It'll create the white space around it. A span is inline. So inline meaning it's not going to create any white space around it. So if you just want to do an emphasis on like a few words or group of words, you could use a span. It won't change anything, and it lets you narrow down and just get to that element on the page. What you should be noticing is HTML gives you all these tags as an opportunity to isolate certain elements on your page and treat them as individual objects. Right? So here's the object-oriented programming. So if you wanted to, you could attach CSS or JavaScript to that, just that. Okay, so let's try these things out. Let's say, for example, I wanted all of my p tags to have a particular attribute. So right here, if I put p here and I do some styling, let's go with font color, because that one's easy and you can see it. But I'm going to make all my p tags blue. Now, the value you're putting here for blue, we can go to the internet and open up a color picker. Did I talk about this already with you guys? Oh, good. So the color picker, right, you can find a color you like. Let's say you wanted this blue right here. And you can use this hexadecimal code instead of the word blue. So blue, in my logic, where did it go? Here, is the color blue as a generic. But if I put instead, oops, okay, I must not have hit copy here. If I put instead that hexadecimal value, it's going to get that specific blue. Right? So you can use a color picker to get to a specific color. Semicolon at the end, save it, and let's just render the page as is so we can see how it looks. All right, so here was one p tag, here's another p tag, here's a third p tag, all of them with font color blue. Go back to your code, and now let's create a class.